All right, what's up, guys? I'm back. I know it's been a while. It's been like 2 weeks or something, right? I'm gonna hopefully not let that happen again. Hopefully, I can try and upload like once a week. That would be awesome. But for the time being, I'm busy. Things happen. But let's just get into it. I have a lot to cover today. First order of business. There's this kid week and a half ago. Really should have covered this last week, but again, I was busy. Things happen. There's this kid, 12-year-old kid. Uh, Colorado, public middle school. He has a Gadsden flag on his, or a Gadsden flag patch on his backpack, right? But it's a Colorado public middle school. Teachers aren't happy. They pull him out of class, and well, you know what? I'll let you see what happens from there. Here you go. So here's a tweet and here's a recording is on today's episode of Everything I Don't Like is Racist. Kid is kicked out of class for a Gadsden flag patch on his bag. You see where this is going. Let's play the clip.
Thank you. Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That's a historical flag.
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed, is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade. That is what was, as the reasoning behind why we do not want this displayed.
The Gadsden flag.
The "Don't Tread on Me."
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag. Okay. Okay. So he's what's gonna happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked if can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class. Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got the patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying to, and then he said you were close. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Like that's the revolution. Maybe you're thinking of like the Confederate Confederate flag.
Okay, I
Is
am
there
just
history?
curious.
Hold on. I just want to take a second here to appreciate how absolutely speechless she is for a second. It's it's hilarious. This is awesome. Let's keep going. Let's finish the clip here.
No, I am here to enforce the policy that was provided by the district, and
And okay, provided by the district. Yeah, sure. I'm sure that this policy was completely provided by the district and not up to her interpretation at all. What it means by racist flag. All right. Yeah, sure. Okay.
definitely you have every right to not agree with it. I mean,
Because the
absolutely.
ACLU says that he's allowed to wear that. If you like go on their website, it's like says in big
So
letters.
all I'm saying is that
Unless there's like a ban on patches, period. Like if you said there's no patches allowed at the school, you cannot display what you think or anything like that, or what cheer or anything like that. I think it's like one-sided, because you allow some patches but not other patches.
Kids have patches like other.
I mean, they're absolutely right. Other kids have patches. This is what happens. This is what happens in public schools, private schools, really everywhere. They're all broken at this point. They're all woke. Um, I mean, look at this. This kid is wearing a Gadsden flag. She's telling us it's racist. It has a history in racism, and it's just this horrible flag that needs to be removed, that can't even be displayed around other children. This is how much of an echo chamber people like this live in. They see something that doesn't align completely with their worldview, some sort of statement that they don't agree with fully 100%, and they say, "Oh, it's racist. It has roots in slavery." And that's just their automatic conclusion.
Names and like the American flag and backpacks.
Yeah. That was like flown during the revolution with, yeah, I just don't understand that at all.
So what I can do is
And if you
speak
go onto the
our-
ACLU's website, yeah, let's talk to
I
someone,
can,
because
I
I
can
don't
have
want a
you speak
lawsuit, I really don't.
I can have you speak to our Jeff Yoakum
Okay.
again.
Okay.
And then he can refer you to our person at the district.
Okay.
Because like I said, we're following district policy
Okay.
is what we're doing.
Okay.
So the last thing I want is him out of class.
Yeah, I know, me
that's
too.
all
He
the last
takes
thing I
his
want.
classes seriously,
Yes.
he studies, he wants to get straight A's, he did that. He made honor roll when he was here before.
Yep.
He intends to do that again right now, but it's hard because he keeps missing class for this. So,
I understand that.
yeah, and I mean, we teach him to always stick up for your beliefs, and I mean, you're going over the revolution for 7th grade. I mean, the founding fathers stood up for what they believed in against unjust laws. This is unjust.
Okay, like I said, we're upholding a policy that was provided to us, which we have to uphold.
Okay, can you show me where the policy?
Can you show me where the policy is? Yeah. Okay. Sure. You look at things like this, it's just so funny because actually, you know what? Let's just take a look at the body language here for a second. And just like that woman, the kid's mom. You can't see the kid's mom in frame, obviously. But you know, she's speaking very confidently. This kid is sitting here. He knows what he's talking about. Look at him. Look at how sharply he's dressed. Hold on, hold on, hold on. We need to pull up. Look at this kid right here.
Want the
Look at him.
We do not want the flag.
Look at how well he's dressed. He's 12. If this kid isn't the future of the nation, I don't know who is. Like other than me, but you know, that doesn't count. And the teacher back there, there's no way she's older than like 45, but she looks like she's 50, 55, 60. I mean, come on. There's no way this person is completely satisfied with her life. I mean, I'm not here to like mock or insult her, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, and by the way, this kid, they let this kid go in the end. It took them a couple of days, but news came out a couple of days after the story itself came out. They let this kid go. They let this kid keep wearing that patch. There's this image. I'd have to go back and find it, but there is this image of the kid posing in front of one of the teacher's cars that was just completely full of like leftist liberal bumper stickers. It's like that's perfectly fine, but this kid wearing the Gadsden flag isn't fine. I mean, okay, these teachers, they're the same people who will tell you that the Black Lives Matter flag or the gay pride flag is not political at all. And this flag here is rooted in a horrible history of racism. It's so funny. I don't know. I just thought that story was absolutely worth sharing. This kid's awesome. We need more people like him. Uh, Hard segue though onto next order of business. Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, says here that they're going to lead an impeachment investigation against against Joe Biden, and I couldn't possibly care less. Like I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I can say that now, by the way. It's been like 5 minutes into the video. YouTube only cares if you say it in the first 30 seconds. Anyway, they don't care. They do not care. Or excuse me, I do not care. I do not care that Joe Biden is being impeached. It's really just another round of back and forth against, you know, they're doing all this stuff to Donald Trump. We should do the same to Joe Biden. And it's like, stop. Just do something productive, please. And I mean, I get it. It's like you can't do much at that point. because okay, you control the House and you don't control the Senate, you don't control the White House. You have the Supreme Court, but you know, that's its own branch of government. They're doing their own thing. And there's not really all that much you can do on your own with just the House of Representatives. So let's impeach Joe Biden is the best thing they could come up with. But it's not helping. It isn't. Like these are issues that voters should be taking to the ballot box, not issues that we need to be impeaching every president over because let's be honest, most presidents have had scandals worse than this in their term in office of things like this. Joe Biden is an old man with dementia who somehow still manages to be extremely corrupt. But and I mean he probably deserves to be impeached, yeah, but at this rate, if we keep doing this, every president is going to be impeached once the other side takes control of the House of Representatives. And that's not a good way for our country to go. This really is nothing more than retaliation for all of the impeachments of Donald Trump and all of the indictments, which are definitely politically motivated. We can get into that some other time. I don't want to talk about that right now, honestly. Mostly because really we have more important things to talk about as a country than a senile old man with dementia. And you get all this information about this. Multiple people have already said, there's no evidence. There's nothing going on here. It's just bullshit. It's like, okay, tell that to tell that to the the all of the DAs that indicted Donald Trump, and they all, it's not like they found out about this probable cause for a crime and then indicted him. No, they were looking for something to indict him for, and then they created new legal theories in order to indict him. That's exactly what they did for every single, most of the cases at least. And you want to talk about Joe Biden? Honestly, that's too damn bad because I don't care. Like this man's old and he should retire. And if we're gonna impeach him, okay. If we're not, I don't care. I really don't. Mitt Romney's retiring. He says he's not gonna run for another term. He's 76. He's younger than Donald Trump. He's younger than Joe Biden, and he's retiring now. Both of them should probably retire. Let's be completely honest. Joe Biden is the oldest president in the history of America. Donald Trump will be the same age as Joe Biden if he wins in 2024 as Joe Biden was in his term now. We don't need that. I'm sorry, but we do not. We don't need a third consecutive oldest president in the history of America. We need someone with an actual like significant amount of energy. I mean, okay, Donald Trump has some energy, but it's not it's not gonna last through 2028, January of 2029. I don't think that's gonna happen. He's going to be 80 something by the end of that. We don't need him in office anymore. Anyway, one more hard segue onto this other story here is guess what? The media still doesn't care about you. This was published by the Free Press newspaper, and it's an article written by a man named Patrick T. Brown. He is a climate researcher who, in order to get his paper published, went through one of the two largest he went through one of the two largest science newspapers, uh, Nature and Science. Those are the names of the newspapers. I mean, you've probably heard of them. That's where all of the sort of latest news about, random science stuff comes in because, those are the two most well-known articles, right? Or the two most well-known papers. And so this guy, in order to publish like his research, he basically has to, like, he says he left out the full truth to get his climate change paper published. They want him to spin his paper in a way that makes climate change seem as bad as possible. And I mean, you can read this for yourself. I mean, he's talking about wildfires. Uh, I can read part of this for us right now is um It says, I am a climate scientist, and while climate change is an important factor affecting wildfires over many parts of the world, it isn't close to the only factor that deserves our sole focus. So why does the press focus so intently on climate change as the root cause? Perhaps for the same reasons I just did in an academic paper about wildfires in Nature, one of the world's most prestigious journals. It fits a simple storyline that rewards the person telling it, because that's how you get your paper published in Nature or in Science. That's just what you have to do. He goes on to say, the paper I just published, Climate Warming Increases Extreme Daily Wildfire Growth Risk in California, focuses exclusively on how climate change has affected extreme wildfire behavior. I knew not to try to quantify key aspects other than climate change in my research because it would dilute the story that prestigious journals like Nature and its rival Science want to tell. This matters because it is critically important for science to be published in high-profile journals. In many ways, they are the gatekeepers for career success in academia. And the editors of these journals have made it abundantly clear, both by what they publish and what they reject, that they want climate papers and support certain pre-approved narratives, even when those narratives come at the expense of broader knowledge for society. To put it bluntly, the climate science has become less about understanding the complexities of the world and more as serving as a kind of Cassandra, urgently warning the public about the dangers of climate change. However understandable this uh, instinct might be, it distorts a great deal of climate science research, misinforms the public, and most importantly, makes practical solutions more difficult to achieve. This is exactly what I've been talking about. And I just want to show you guys I'm not the only one saying this. There are climate researchers who are saying this. This is just how you get your story published, is you have to talk about only climate change. You can't talk about other factors. You can't talk about the fact that deaths from climate related disaster deaths are down 98%. You can't talk about wildfires being down 35% in the past 20 years. You're not allowed to talk about that. You have to talk about the effects of climate change. You can't talk about that within the context of technological advancement because of the same things that are causing climate change. You're not allowed to talk about that. You can't talk about the fact that most wildfires are ignited by humans. I think it was like 80%. He talks about that in this article. And you just cannot. Hold on. Give me a second. I can pull up part of this article. Really, if you have the chance, you should read the whole thing. It's a great read. It's very informative. Um, and it's just this form of narrative-based writing where you're not writing to talk to people about the facts. You're writing to get people to agree with you. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And well, especially over the past 5-10 years, like I've shown you guys with those graphs from last episode where I showed it really started sometime between 2010 and 2015, is just all of these subjects completely skyrocketed: racism, climate change, wildfires, all of these things. And why don't we just keep reading this part's interesting, is he says this leads to a second unspoken rule in writing a successful climate paper. The authors should ignore or at least downplay practical actions that can counter the impact of climate change. If deaths due to extreme heat are decreasing and crop yields are increasing, then it stands to reason we can overcome some major negative effects of climate change. Shouldn't we then study how we have been able to achieve success so that we can facilitate more of it? Of course we should. But studying solutions rather than focusing on problems is simply not going to rouse the public or the press. Besides, many mainstream climate scientists tend to view the whole prospect of, say, using technology to adapt to climate change as wrong-headed. Addressing emissions is the right approach. So the savvy researcher knows to stay away from practical solutions because that's just what people want to hear. That's what these that's what the executives at media companies, newspapers, journals, all of these things, that's what they want people to hear because they have a specific idea of how they want to fix a problem, and they just want people to see the information that will make them agree with that perspective. They're not going to give them any amount of information that will get them to disagree with that perspective. They're going to downplay that. They're going to call those people climate change deniers. They're going to call them far right. They're going to call them conspiracy theorists. They're going to call them any number of things to keep them from getting published, becoming mainstream, because they don't care about your opinion. They only care about your opinion in the sense that it's another opinion that they need to get you to, or that they need to get to agree with them. That's all they care about. They don't care about informing the public and letting you make an informed decision. They care about making decisions and informing the public on only on the things that will make them agree with that decision. And you can keep going here. Here's the third trick. Be sure to focus on metrics that will generate the most eye-popping numbers. Again, it's narrative-based. It's narrative-driven storytelling. Is you're talking about things that will you're only talking about things not for the sake of science, not for the sake of informing people, but for the sake of getting them to agree with you, for the sake of what do they call it? Yellow journalism. How about that? Our paper, for instance, could have focused on a simple, intuitive metric like the number of additional acres that burned or the increase in intensity of wildfires because of climate change. Instead, we followed the common practice of looking at the change in risk of an extreme event. In our case, the increased risk of wildfires burning more than 10,000 acres in a single day. That's an eye-popping number. That's like there's a higher risk of wildfires burning more than 10,000 acres in a single day. That's an eye-popping metric. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for raw numbers. They're not looking for, oh, this is increasing a little bit. No, they're looking for, oh, the world is ending and we need to do something about it. Guess what? We need to decrease emissions, and we're gonna fly all our private jets over to Switzerland and talk about it. It's like, yeah, okay. They don't care about you. Another way to get the kind of big numbers that will justify the importance of your research and impress editors, reviewers, and the media is to always assess the magnitude of climate change over centuries, even if that time scale is irrelevant to the impact that you specifically are studying. For example, it's standard practice to assess impacts on society using the amount of climate change since the Industrial Revolution, but to ignore technological and societal changes over that time. There's context there. That's what he's saying. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from a practical standpoint, since societal changes in population distribution, infrastructure, behavior, disaster preparedness, etc., have had far more influence on our sensitivity to weather extremes than climate change has since the 1800s. Climate change has affected weather patterns over the course of a couple hundred years, but we as humans keep moving around so much that it doesn't matter. We can adapt. That's one of the things that makes humanity so awesome is we're able to adapt to things like this relatively like it really easily. And yet everybody's saying, "Oh, if we put too much carbon in the atmosphere, we're all gonna fucking die." Yeah, okay. A much more useful analysis, he says, would focus on changes in climate from the recent past that living people have actually experienced, and then forecasting the foreseeable future for, the next several decades while accounting for changes in technology and resilience. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? They don't care though. They don't care what makes sense. They only care what's going to drive their narrative forward. So here's the thing. He's saying, okay, as to why I followed the formula despite my criticisms, the answer is simple. I wanted the research to be published. He's publishing important research. He's not going to boycott the industry because, well, I'm not going to call him a coward because he's going out here and telling us all of this, but I mean, they're not doing much themselves to stop this, which is a problem. But that just means we need to be aware of that. We need to speak up about that. We can't just sit on the sidelines and say, "Oh, look at that article." Like we need to be actively aware of that. We need to look into all of these things as they come through because, well, we just don't know what is true, what isn't, what has context missing, and we have to really just be diligent about that. And this guy, he says he left academia over a year ago. He says partially because I felt pressures put on academic scientists caused too much of the research to be distorted. Again, that's his point. That's the point I've been making. Is all this research is like, a lot of the people doing the research are doing it honestly, but in order to get it published, they have to talk about climate change. That just has to be the main focus. That has to be the only focus, really. And so, I mean, he really continues to talk about a lot of this stuff. He says, okay, here's a problem. He says the media, for instance, should stop accepting these papers at face value and do some digging on what's been left out. No, they're not going to because the media's in on this. The media is really behind this, even more so probably than the science and nature journals. The media, the CNN, the NBC, the MSNBC, they're the customers really. They're the ones who are going to be taking these articles and publishing them to fit their climate change narrative. That's all that's happening. Is one big chain of people at the top taking information, distorting it, giving it to the public, and then the public having distorted information and them making their judgments off of that. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything except for the narrative. That's all they care about. They care about spreading their own narrative. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about informing you. They don't care about letting you make your own reasonable conclusion based on all of the facts and all of the evidence. No, they want you to come to one specific conclusion. They these are the same people, that talk about diversity all the time. They don't care about the kind of diversity that matters the most, which is diversity of thought, diversity of experience, diversity of, actual, actual things that will impact your life, not just race, gender, um, sexual orientation. No, those things, they'll say, oh, we need more diversity there. And then they just do not give a single flying fuck about, actually, no, I wouldn't even say that. No, they're actively working against having diversity of thought. They want everybody to have the same opinion. They want everybody to have their opinion because they don't care about, quite frankly, they don't care about our American values. They don't care about the They don't care about freedom of speech. They don't care about freedom of the press. They don't care about having an open exchange of ideas. They want to sit in the back hall of their castle and decide everything for you. They think that is the best way for the world to work. They think that your voice, your voices as the peasant doesn't matter, and they're gonna sit in their castles and decide what's best for you because you're not able to make decisions on your own. It's quite frankly completely un-American, and it's absolutely ridiculous that we've been putting up with this for so long. I think it's time that we figure out a way to break out of this mess. Honestly, that's where I'm at. I hope you guys can agree with me or at least see where I'm coming from. And well, that's all I have for today. Hopefully I'll be back next week. Um, I'll see you guys soon. I appreciate you guys staying for the full thing. I know this one was a lot longer than last ones. I had a lot to talk about. I had this whole article to talk about. I had all of my thoughts about the Biden impeachment, which I don't care about. I had the kid. That kid's awesome, by the way. But yeah, man, the media doesn't care about you. They don't care about our country. They don't care about our values here. And it needs to stop. It really does. Maybe I'll figure out something else to talk about other than why the media doesn't care about you next time, but you know, we'll see. I probably won't. Goodbye.